Join us now, attorney and Second Amendment advocate Colion Noir. Colion, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. Isn't this this push in the Senate misguided, focusing on guns? Shouldn't we focus on the ills in society that are creating people to be detached and violent, that would make them want to pick up a gun and use it and kill people?
You know, I've been saying it for years. There's nothing normal about somebody wanting to go in and slaughter innocent people. And so the fact that we don't even question or talk about the fact, like, what is causing somebody to want to go and do something like this? We don't ever have that conversation. Instead, what ends up happening is you get the other side trying to leverage a tragedy in order to push an agenda based around gun control. And it's weird to me because they're talking about so-called assault weapons, which essentially we know they're talking about AR-15s, but AR-15s are used in less than 1% of gun deaths in this country. So why are we talking about AR-15s? Why are we not getting to the root cause of these issues? But that's not their goal for them. The goal for them is to push their agenda for control, which is based around the Second Amendment, or doing away with the Second Amendment as best they can.
Absolutely, Colion. I say repeatedly, let's talk. When there's a shooting, say it out loud, the dangerously mentally ill. And there is a law that if you're adjudicated as mentally ill, you cannot buy a gun in this country. And nobody talks about it. And if you go back to the so-called assault weapon ban, the overall gun crime did fall after it, but the Department of Justice attributed it to not the ban, but better background checks. And on that note, around the nation, states have been passing and pushing gun control legislation. 10 states have already passed a so-called assault weapon sale ban, but other states are going in the other direction and are allowing for permitless carry.
Yeah, and I think that totally makes sense for states to actually want to empower their citizens to be able to protect themselves. I don't think anybody here is under the impression that a police officer can be immediately available anytime somebody finds himself in some type of harm or danger. So essentially, you have to be your own first responder. So why wouldn't a state want to empower their citizens to be able to protect themselves as effectively as possible? But yet you have some other states that are doing everything in their power to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. And it's always been weird to me. But then again, when you're talking about politicians and people in power who are mainly focused on an agenda and mainly focused on control, which is the ultimate goal, they're not really worried about your ability to protect yourself. They'll just tell you, oh, just rely on the police and whatever happens will happen. But if you decide to actually pick up a firearm and use it to defend yourself, oh, we can't have that. We can't have you having the ability to protect yourself, because then we can't control you.
But I think that's it. So they wanted to break down, the faith in America. They wanted to break down the families in America. That's about control. But also taking people's guns away is taking power away from people and giving it to the state. Health and Human Services has guns. The IRS has guns. They all have guns. Criminals have guns. But you won't have one. That empowers them. This is what Marxists do. It really is. It's a page out of the Marxist playbook. And that's where they're going. That's why they want guns.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it, that Karl Marx was actually, he was pro-gun when it came to utilizing it in order for him to get power.
That's right.
But he was very clear in stating that once he was in that position, the people weren't allowed to have firearms. He didn't want them to have firearms because those people being armed then served as a threat to whatever socialist utopia he thought he was going to be establishing. But nobody wants to talk about that.
Colion, please come back. We've been begging to get you on the program to talk about this. And there's a case in front of the Supreme Court right now about the so-called assault weapons ban in Illinois. We'll see how that goes. Colion Noir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.